Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, leader. Thank you for tuning in to the Fierce Factor podcast. You are listening to episode 99. This is your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And today, ladies, I want you to allow yourself to step out of your everyday, get it done, get after it, go conquer the world energy, and really find your feminine energy. Show up today from a place of grace, of ease, and openness, because today we're going to engage in a concept that truly no one is talking about. But it's time. It's time to shift the narrative around who we should be in our business as founders and leaders. And instead, today we're going to talk about absolutely loving the woman you are and honoring yourself as the leader of your own business and life. And I don't know about you, but I have read, maybe 100 books on leadership, listened to thousands of podcasts. I have buried myself in expensive curriculum around leading, inspiring, and mentoring others. But if there's one thing I've learned as I've built my own 7-figure business, and by really doing the deep inner work with hundreds of high-growth women per year, it's that the vast majority of gaps in business and team leadership, they aren't a byproduct of a lack of emotional intelligence or a lack of tactical knowledge, not knowing the steps to take to the ABC staircase to becoming a good leader. Instead, the majority of the challenges that our high growth clients face when it comes to leading and managing, the challenges that you face, they stem from hidden insecurities around how to allow you to show up for yourself as a leader, how to trust your own ability to inspire and move others and yourself, goddess, right? How to lead and motivate yourself, and how to accept and own your flaws and unique nuances that really make you you. So today I want to talk with you about how to really love yourself as a leader. Speaking of loving myself, as I'm recording this, I'm just back from a 40th birthday trip. I went to Cabo San Lucas. It was amazing. Well, let's be real. I legitimately spent an entire month of celebrating the last 40 years of living. And because I put so much energy around this birthday, I've had a lot of time to think and reflect on who I am and who I want to become as I cross that bridge to the big fours. And really the single priority of mine, as I had been and now I have approached this birthday milestone, has really been to just love myself harder. And what I realized is that as a competitive, goal-oriented woman, I'm always striving to become better. But at some point in my 30s, I began to find myself looking in the mirror and just criticizing myself. In so many ways. As an example, I'd find myself shaming my own body. I'd look in the mirror and instead of probably back in the day, my 20s, I'd be like, girl, you look good. I'm saying to myself, wow, look at that cellulite, or your butt's sagging, or the skin is looser. I literally, no joke, this is for real. I have a folder on my phone, a file where I pull screenshots and selfies and pictures of my double chin, which, isn't this ironic, working in the aesthetic industry and having access to all the things. But the point is not that. The point is not about needing to fix myself. It's about noticing and calling out these imperfections that never really bothered me before, that maybe I have now that I didn't have in my 20s. And now I think I've always told myself that this negative self-talk is really what keeps me striving to become better. After all, if I don't work to stay in shape, what would happen to my figure, to my health? And even in preparation for this trip, for as hard as I was on myself, nothing really significantly changed. So let's be real. I would work out harder, eat cleaner, and still not look like I was 22. And so I was here approaching 40 and depressing myself over the fact that I didn't look 20. Is that not ridiculous? Like when I'm in my right mind, I'm like, that is so ridiculous, Kaylee. That's also the level of ridiculousness that I see so often with powerhouse business leaders like you, goddess, right? They have completely unrealistic expectations about who they should be for everyone in their business, and they criticize themselves for just being who they are. And this is really a recipe for downfall because at the end of the day, leadership, it requires a leader to show up and demonstrate through her actions and not her words. So you can, as a leader, say all the things you want. My mom used to drink milk from the carton, and she would say, which she's a very, very proper and feminine woman. So it was just so weird to even see her do that. But she would always say, do what I do, not what I say. And that's sort of the thing. It's like when you're making decisions in your business, your people are watching you. They're watching how you show up, how you act, how you breathe, how you think, how you maneuver around, right? So this past year, we worked with a business leader in our academy who is running a, no joke, thriving multi-million-dollar practice. And she is an owner and operator in her business. She's running a spa, and she is both the owner, but also delivering service in her business as an esthetician. And so she happens to be a fierce, very fierce and independent woman who migrated from Russia, with a few dollars and zero English. And she has truly achieved her American dream. She knows what it takes to achieve enviable success because she's really written the story for those behind her. I mean, for so many of us, right? And because of this, one thing she does not put up with is excuses or laziness. She just can't tolerate it. And so during our coaching sessions, sometimes we're talking about these challenges with hiring and really keeping great people because she's really hard on her people. And she has a very direct communication style. And most people just don't understand her very straight to the point feedback. So before we met, she had been working independently already on trying to be softer in nature, to give more chances, to loosen up her expectations, right? Be real with these people. But the result of this has really been a woman who, as an employer, feels often resentful and taken advantage of because she's just not having her needs met to the level of which she, quite frankly, deserves. And so there was this situation recently where one of her employees came to work with her hair all disheveled and no makeup on. And this, of course, was against company policy. This client is dressed to the nines every single day, and so it's an important part of the business. She wants everybody to show up in uniform, which happens to be do your freaking hair and put some makeup on and look the part, right? And so that day, our client came to our academy office hours to talk about this, a distaste for the situation. I don't think she had much emotion at the point, but she was saying it's just frustrating to me that this employee walks in and she doesn't have herself together. How should we handle it? And so she was sort of brainstorming with the group. And then she said, I'm going to let it slide this time because I'm trying to be a better leader. I'm trying to be more patient and understanding. My manager really thinks this is the correct way to handle it. Just be more human and let it go. 1 week later, guess what? It happens again with the same employee. And so here a client is coming back feeling frustrated with herself that she didn't nip it in the butt when she could have. So it's this sort of dissenting, maybe the angel devil on the shoulder. I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but where you've got the one side of you is trying so hard to do what you think you should do, but the other side of you really feels a certain way, right? And so there's this conflict, this internal conflict going on. So flash forward 1 week later, now this is the third consecutive week, another employee comes to work without the proper makeup, dress attire, and this sort of exception that was made one time now seems to be spreading around the business like a virus. And it's sort of one of those things where the second employee is like, well, if she can do it, then why can't I do it? And so on paper, this may sound like a simple problem to solve, right? So you're going to open up your ABC leadership book and it's really going to tell you, put a policy in place, write someone up, stop making exceptions, right? On the management side, on the leadership side, it's going to say, have a conversation, explain context. Why is this so important? Why do we all need to be dressed like this in our business? How does this impact the client experience? Yada, yada, yada. But let's all be real here, right? This leader, this client of ours, she believes in her heart that many of her staffing challenges are occurring because she's so tough on her employees. So if she continues to be tough or direct and wavering about her policies, how will she solve this problem that she has? And so this is where leadership gets really abstract, right? It's really so internal and so intangible. And through this sort of experience and coaching opportunity I had with her, I began to think about this sort of 40-year-old evolution that I've been having, right? And this new resolution to love myself. And as I was doing this work, I started thinking about the flaws that I have and how they are actually a piece of the whole. How it was all the parts of me that made me a total woman. It's like a recipe that calls for onions. Not many people love a raw bite of onion, right? But sauteed in a savory dish. I don't know if you're like me, but when I'm sauteing onions in some butter or olive oil, some garlic and a dish, oh my gosh, the smell in the kitchen, it is insane. But like, I'm not going to walk into the grocery store and like start gnawing on garlic in the car, right? So it's sort of like the imperfections or the things that are not as ideal independently together in this savory dish, they are just a delicious piece of this total recipe. And so I started thinking about that, and my body has changed because I'm a 40-year-old woman. I have amazing children. I have soccer injuries from having an incredible collegiate career in soccer. I have a life of adventure and fun. I travel all the time. I do fun things with the kids. I put around in my golf cart. Like, I go on vacation. I eat indulgent meals and drink fine wine. And when I started thinking about all that, I thought, would I trade all that in for a 20-year-old body? And the answer was a resounding hell no. And yet I think of this as this analogy as I'm trying to sort of tie this into the idea of loving ourselves and the way that we show up as leaders in our business. I see it both ways. I see it this client who's really tough on her employees. And then I see it where other ones feel that they're too soft and they're being taken advantage of. And half the battle is really just embracing, right? It's just feeling ashamed or feeling like we shouldn't be who we actually are. And everybody's trying to become something else. And so often as leaders, we pick and prod at our own humanness and we question ourselves. Sometimes the thing that makes us so successful is actually the thing that makes us challenging for other people. And that's okay. But just because someone else is challenged by your rules, your boundaries, your communication style, it doesn't make it wrong. The thing our client needed to remember is that those parts of her are also the parts of her that make her freakishly loyal to the people she employs, pays her people royally, demonstrates a kind of confidence that attracts high-end clients into her practice, and really creates a safety net for her business ecosystem and the people who depend on her. So she's spicy and sweet. She's fun and serious. She's driven and she's committed to growth for all of her team and patients. Her personality is uniquely perfect. And I'll tell you, anyone who is in her presence is drawn to her magnetic energy and her resolute confidence. It's actually extremely attractive. And when women come to us to become leaders, I really think what they're looking for isn't a 1, 2, 3 step program, right? It's the search. It's the essence of the power to insource a fiery confidence to show up as the woman they truly are and not the woman Instagram expects them to be. Think about your flaws. What's your biggest insecurity? What if you stopped trying to fix it and instead just accepted it for what it is? What if you just agreed that that thing, it was a part of you? You don't have to defend yourself for having it. You can laugh at it. When someone calls you out on it, you can say to others, be like, yeah, that's who I am and I'm proud to be that. How much more ease would you feel? How much more fun would that be? Think about your friends or your kids. They're certainly not perfect. Each of them has a physical and emotional imperfections that make them who they are. And you love them just as they are. You don't try to change them. You just accept them. What if you loved yourself just like that? What if you showed up as a leader who knew she was flawed, but didn't make it mean anything more than just that? I'm a flawed human and I'm trying my best. And so often just releasing the urge to fix yourself is actually the fix in itself. For me, loving my every curve just eliminated the need to be 20 entirely. It's actually that simple. And for a client, owning that she has high expectations allows her to show up as herself without apology. She doesn't have to live with resentment and frustration because people have a hard time handling her. It's just going to be the way she helps her team understand what's important to her, how to best do their job and become successful in their role. And in my opinion, they'll learn to have thicker skin because they'll know it's not personal. It's just the way things are done around there. And sometimes we make mistakes as leaders. And I think that it's okay for us to admit that to our team as well. We're not perfect. We can't do everything exactly the way everybody expects us to do it every single time. Enacting leadership that honors your authentic self is the ultimate gift to those who choose to follow you. Why? I think because others will know that they're stepping in line with a leader who is self-aware, but is also gracious with herself and can therefore accept and honor others for their humanness. It's really like, to me, it's all about this cadence of enduring a situation and learning and growing through that experience so then we can show up as a better version of ourselves the next time we face that same experience. It's creating a culture where all the people have the freedom to be flawed, to be unique and creative and try new things. It's like a well-choreographed symphony where everyone is following a conductor, even though they're all playing different instruments. And P.S., it really doesn't matter what tune the orchestra is playing as long as everyone is on the same note. And this melody is the one I hear play weekly in our academy. I really think that this is the profound power of being a part of a community with other business leaders, a team, a sisterhood in some ways, of women who can help you navigate situations just like this one in real time. This is the distinction between learning something and living something. Like just reading a book or watching a video, it doesn't make change. I've read 100 books, but I'll tell you, half of what I read, I didn't really understand until I implemented and acted that in my real life. Imagine reading a book on how to swim. You could become an absolute genius on breath work, strokes, water, the dynamic of water current. I don't even know. But until you dive face first into that water, you're not a swimmer. So leader, today I want to challenge you to name that one thing. What is that flaw that makes you feel the most defensive when it's exposed? What is that one piece of you that gives you the most grief or shame or you feel the most vulnerable about? What is that one thing that is constantly on your mind? That if you believe if it was fixed, then you'd be fixed. Think about it. And for me, I feel very similar to our client. As a business owner, I'm the one who has to live with every decision that is made, every action that's taken, every misstep the company makes. And for that, I put a lot of pressure on myself and everyone around me. And when I think about not being this way, I think life would be so much more peaceful and at ease. But I also can accept that I'm like this and not judge myself for it, but accept that it's a part of me and it's a significant part of what makes me the human I am and also contributes to the success that I have. And accepting this in itself makes me more tolerant of others' mistakes and my confidence in our ability to recover from them. Sometimes just loving yourself can really be the antidote to the roadblock itself. Try it. Leader, if you're feeling let down by the people around you, it may simply be a symptom of you holding people accountable to expectations that they aren't even aware of. And you will experience so much more freedom and joy when you admit to yourself that the things that are valued and critical of the people around you is okay. It's okay even if it seems unreasonable. Just own it, make it real, and then release the judgment. Learn to love the dynamic and flawed woman that you are. Take a deep breath and release the need to be perfect. You are perfectly beautiful as you already are, goddess. Trust me. All right. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. Now go love on yourself, and I will connect with you same place, same time, same thing next week. Wait, before you go. Hey, if you're vibing with this conversation and you want to join me on my mission to help 100 inspiring and intentional women cross the next $1 million milestone in their business this year, or leader, maybe you want to become one of them, head over to Facebook and join our free community, the Fierce Factor Society. Over there, we're taking this conversation to an elevated level. Get access to resource guides, podcast supplements, guideposts, and direct communication with me, my expert team, and of course, a society of fierce women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetic wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to Facebook and search the Fierce Factor Society. See you there, goddess.